Good morning, Jane. It's Lynn Woodhall. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Nice to finally meet you.
You too. Isn't it so funny?
I've got to find my audio. Where's the audio? You cannot see me, it looks like.
I cannot.
And I'm plugged in. Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Thanks for joining.
Don't know why. I have. Aha, there I am.
There you are. Looks like you have a nice office there, Lynn.
Yeah, I've got a dump behind me, but an active working dump, but that's it's interesting. It keeps the neighborhood interesting.
It's sunlight. That's what I'm seeing.
Yes.
It is sunlight. Trying to make sure I have all my contact information sorted out. Okay. Someone else is here. James, are you here? Are you here? Yeah, I think he was not here. Very well. Very well. And where are you at again, Lynn, working wise?
I'm in Stratford, at a company called Kitchen Brains. We're on the Bridgeport side of Stratford, right off of I-95.
Yeah, that I remember when you told me about it, I was fascinated. It was very cool. It's very cool.
It's a very interesting company, and I'm happy to share it and more about us with whomever is on the call today. Very interesting company, and we do end-to-end manufacturing. So,
Nice.
Yeah, very cool.
It's nice that you're somewhere that you're excited about, and they're doing good things.
And I'm here 2 years, which is hard to believe. I'm starting my 3rd year, and it's gone by quickly, but having a year and a half of COVID thrown in has changed the game, right? So
yeah, changed the game for sure. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I remember one time we were having a conversation, and like I just remember where I was at. I was in Milford. I was walking around. I was at the co-working space. Yeah, so it's been a while. Wow.
It has been.
Yeah.
Actually, I was telling Marianne Donovan that I was going to participate, and I told her that you and I knew one another, and so she was excited to know what you're up to.
Oh, good. She's lovely. Yeah, she's lovely. She's probably busy. She looks like she's busy with the posts and stuff.
Yeah, I think all the recruiters are. It's a challenge though, finding talent. It's an interesting market.
It's
in quotes, right?
Interesting market for sure. And it's separating out the kind of like the post and pray type from the I'm going to go out and find this person no matter what kind of, you know. It's that market. So it's great market for me.
Good.
Yeah. So, but it is challenging. I had this, it was a weird job for me because it wasn't a manufacturer. Oh, there's Joan. She's an HR person as well. Anyway, I had a recent job that took, I don't know, 4 months, but I finally found someone and he started Monday. So
Good for you. Joan Mazzella, that's a name and a face I haven't seen in a long time. Joan, how are you?
Who is this? I don't see your name.
In Woodhall.
Oh, hello there. How are you?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good. Good, good. We'll have to chat offline.
Sure, you bet.
Hope everything's going well personally.
I appreciate that. Yeah, doing okay, thank you.
Good, good, good. You're in the Brookfield, Danbury area, if I remember.
I am, yes. Yep.
It's nice to see old friends. Not
I
old,
know.
old
Sure
former
is.
friends or friends I haven't talked to in a while. How's that?
Exactly, exactly.
we have somebody new. It's listed as B Coil. Are you there? Maybe. We have, I would guess, the most we've had previously is about 20 people, and we had about 75 RSVP. And you know how people RSVP and they get busy or what have you. So we'll see what we get today. We're getting close to 9:30. There's Mike Rivera. There he is. Rivera. Morning, Mike.
Good morning, partner.
How are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you today?
Super.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Is it just you and I?
No, we have, oh, you can't, I wonder if I'm doing something wrong that you can't see everybody.
I can only see you.
No, we have Lynn Woodhall, Joan Mazzella, B Coyle, Dan Cummings.
Yep. And it would be helpful if when I facilitate, it would be good to see everybody if I can.
Yeah, so let me stop sharing my screen and see if that helps. I don't know if that helps.
Well, maybe it's me. Let me check
Yeah.
something.
Lynn, can you see other people? You can see Joan, right? Can you see everybody else, Lynn?
You know
Yeah,
what? I think it
can
was
see everyone.
me.
Okay.
But I can see everybody now, but I think it was me when
Okay.
I said I couldn't see everybody before when you shared your screen.
Okay.
Because I
now
should be able to change the view. So let's do this. Yep. Yeah, it was me. I could see everybody now.
Awesome. We got it. Thanks, Lynn. Here's Andy. Morning, Andy.
Morning, how are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks for asking.
Good. Good. Brian Coyle. I think Brian. Slow but sure. Coming in. Anybody got anything great to report as we get started? Anybody want to start
The
or
best
anything?
job market in 19 months, right now.
Ew.
Right now.
There's Captain Jenko. Okay, we're going to get started in 1 minute. So I like to start on time because I feel like people might trickle in. All right, let's start with the intros. If everybody's okay with that, we'll start with intros. Oops. I'm going to start. Can we start reverse order? So we'll start with Kevin at this point. Since
All right.
You've been with us the longest.
Yeah, a dubious distinction at best. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jane.
Yeah, I didn't mean it in a bad way at all, my friend.
That's all right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin Jenko. I'm a global marketing executive. I help companies to grow their revenue, market share, and profitability by understanding their customers better and creating marketing strategies and executing plans that help companies to win in the marketplace. My background includes consumer packaged goods like Duracell batteries, and more recently in business to business, where I was the global vice president of marketing for Terex Corporation, a multi-billion-dollar global manufacturer of construction equipment. And looking for a similar opportunity. Glad to meet you all and help you in your search in any way that I can.
Great.
Impressive.
Dan-
Kevin, real quick, Jane,
Yes.
Kevin, impressive background. Welcome. Could you also, when in the introductions, could you clarify if you are in transition or if you are in seat and looking, or just here to be part of the curriculum?
Sure. I am in transition seeking a new opportunity.
Thank you.
Perfect. And then Dan Irwin, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name's Dan.
Oh, can't hear you, Dan.
I'm in transition, and I've been working in tech sales for a couple of years now. And after taking some time off for COVID, I'm looking for my next challenge and exploring different areas.
Perfect. Okay. And then please put your everyone contact information, LinkedIn, what have you, in the chat if you like. Andy.
Good morning, everybody. I am a revenue generating professional in transition. I specialize in customer acquisition and retention for B2B and consumer products manufacturers. I generate revenue by optimizing customer experience and making sure that you're delivering what the customer needs, not necessarily wants.
Perfect. Great job. And then Dan Cunningham. Cummings. I'm sorry, Dan Cummings. Sorry. All right, we'll skip you for now. Brian Coyle. Okay, Joan.
Okay, here, Dan Cummings, can you hear
There you
me?
go. Yeah, we can. Good.
No, I thought you unmuted me. I'm not familiar with this platform very often. Basically, I am a designer, computer-aided design, specializing in rolling mills. I'm currently happily unemployed for the summer and doing this to fulfill my weekly job search.
Nice. Okay, very good. Thank you for joining us. Ms. Joan.
Okay, I'm sorry I don't have a video working this morning, but glad to join. So I'll start and say I am in transition. I actually was very glad to have the summer off myself as well. And my son is a senior this year, so I got to spend a summer with him before life changes drastically. And my focus, I'm an HR generalist and, for most of my career, but I love to work with companies that do a lot of acquisitions, but I like to be on the end part of that where there's a lot of integration for the new companies, employees that are joining. So getting them, acclimated to the new corporation and whatever that entails, just building good, employee relations up front for those folks.
You're good. James. I don't see James anymore. He might have dropped out. Lynn.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for the invitation to join Jane. It's really great to be here. I'm an employer of a manufacturing company located in Stratford, Connecticut, on the Bridgeport line. We're called Kitchen Brains, and we do end-to-end manufacturing, which is unusual and interesting in the kitchen space, commercial kitchen space. So we develop electronic control systems that go into cooking food in commercial kitchens. So we're in every KFC, McDonald's, we make the French fry perfect every time, and the Kentucky Fried Chicken the same, whether you're in Thailand or Tampa. And we have these we manufacture these electronic devices here, as well as we have smart and SaaS programs. And I am very, very happy to link with every one of you. I'm very active on LinkedIn. My name is Lynn Woodhall. Aren't too many people with that name. I'm happy to connect with each of you and help you in any way that I can in your search. I, like all of us, have been in your shoes before if you're looking for opportunities, and welcome the opportunity to network with you and help in any way that I can. So, thanks so much for participating. It's the best way to get to know your network, the job opportunities, and to help one another. So thanks again, Jane, for the invite, and I'll come back on as needed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynn. Okay, if somebody who's, it's showing fireflies. Anthony. So skip you if you're not, I don't know, you were on last time too. Cynthia.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're doing the roundhouse intros here. Is that the
Quick little intro. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was just you're introducing the new people or not. So anyway, my name is Cynthia Sis. I am in Middletown, Connecticut, and I am a product manager. I have many years as a product manager for a variety of manufacturing companies, and most recently at Assa Abloy, where I worked in Berlin, Connecticut for the division that manufactures architectural accessories, AKA hinges and those kinds of accessories that go on your doors. So I am looking for a small to mid-sized manufacturer that is looking for a product manager, and basically that's taking the products and creating them for different markets and targeting specific customers or specific markets with new products, and helping to pull together from, hey, we can make this widget, to, hey, let's go after this big market and figure out how to get into that market and figure out how to make it profitable. So any kind of leads, please send them my way.
Awesome. Okay. Bob Malone.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Malone. I am from Western Pennsylvania, and I apologize for not having my video on. I jumped off the treadmill to take the call, and no one wants to see that. But I am a operations and sales leader. I am currently working in a contract position as a solutions lead, developing a new warehouse processes for a company called Schwann's Home Service. But I am looking for, future permanent work, and been on this call quite a few times, and had a personal conversation with Mike, and I've really enjoyed this process and this group. So I jumped back on to meet all of you. So if I can do anything for you, please reach out, and I will do whatever I can. I appreciate it.
Perfect. And I feel like I may have missed out. Anyone I'm missing?
You missed, did Dan go?
I know I have two Dan I's, and I'm not sure I got both Dan I's. So Dan Irwin, did I miss you, dear? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Daniel Indish.
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead. Introduction.
Yes, I'm a quality Lean Six Sigma guy, and I'm in Rhode Island. So I've done everything from the beginning of concept all the way through product development, rapid product development, new product launch. And so, yeah, I'm a great networker. I have a lot of kind of connections in my network. I'd be glad to help anybody.
Excellent. Wonderful. Mike, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Mike Rivera. I'm a Chief Human Resources Officer. I've held senior level roles in multi-billion-dollar global organizations, both American and European based. I span industries, although my love is manufacturing, and I have 14 years in 3 different types of manufacturing industries. When I started, believe it or not, my first job was with General Motors as a tier 1 supplier, which was still today one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. And then I've been in paper and printing, as well as food and beverage. So I am currently in a business advisory role. I am advising Jane, so also an HR consultant and things like that. And really, what I'm here for, and I'll turn it over to Jane unless she has anything else. But really, we're here to help you. And I find that a lot of people like talking to me because I was on the other side, right? I hired people, or my team did. And so I can give you, I hope to give you a lot of insights into the job search, and give you some perspective from the other side, if you will. So before I move on with our program, I'll turn it over for Jane to any other comments.
Thank you very much, Mike. It's just wanted to mention, because I failed to mention this, right? So if you're finding value and you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I think everyone's connected with me on LinkedIn. Follow Rising Sun Connections on LinkedIn. That would be super awesome. Share any of the information that I'm posting on LinkedIn so we can bring this to more people. And then also, I am just, my main job is as a recruiter. So I'm currently looking for a few engineers in Poughkeepsie and a couple remote. So I'm going to share some of that information on LinkedIn. And then I have a new contract with a company looking for a bunch of welders in upstate New York. So there's a lot of ways, if you're finding some value, that you can just kind of give back, right? So so today what we're doing, we did the intro. I have somebody who's not on, who's looking for a connection with Thule. If anybody knows anyone there and is willing to share that information with me, that'd be awesome. And then I'll share it with that person. We have a Slack channel, and I also started a Facebook page, and I'm not sure if you're interested. So any feedback on that would be helpful. A few people joined the Slack channel. So here's I just feel like seeing it in on the screen is helpful to kind of know what we're talking about today. So our first topic is going to be mastering the exit narrative and the elevator pitch. So Mike, do you want to start the conversation? And then
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
All right. So we really want to provide good content for this group. We want to grow this group, and we're trying to grow members and trying to attract people. I can tell you, Lynn, welcome to the group. We want to expand our offerings, and we want to ultimately have another group where we're providing premium content to employers. We think there's a lot of opportunity in manufacturing. I love manufacturing. I did recently, for everyone, I did recently a presentation, a speech to several MBA classes on outsourcing, and that might be interesting to this group. But we also want to hear from you. We want to hear topics you want to hear about. So please provide those in the chat, or you can reach out to myself or Jane afterwards, because we want to be able to talk about things that you want to hear about. I'm going to jump around just a little bit.
Sure.
So we're gonna try to restructure this a little differently. Last time we talked about age bias, which is always a hot topic for people, and I thought that went pretty well, and hopefully you enjoyed the content. So one thing we haven't done is kind of a foundational discussion, and I hope that during the course of today there'll be some new suggestions and things that maybe you thought-provoking discussion. So the first thing is, first of all, I said in my open before most of you came on, this is the best job market in 19 months. All right, that's a fact. COVID hit us mid-March, but it was with us through end of February of 2020. So it's a fact that now we're in September. The rest of the world's waking up. This is going to be the best job market. So I would say those in transition, go hard over the next 2.5 months. Things slow down in around Thanksgiving, although they're still hiring. But this is as good as it's going to get from now until mid-November. If you're going to do a resume rewrite, do it now. If you're going to do follow-ups to executive search, do it now. So get prepared, but this is as good as it's going to get for now. And I think it has gone very well. The market has rebounded. There is hiring going on. So you should all be optimistic about the next couple of months in terms of your relative search. In terms of, and I also want to have a dialogue. I want to share best practices, so I don't want this to be one way. So your resume should be a reflection of you. And the question I have for all of you is, how do you feel about your resume? I will also tell you, and I say this with all humility, there's a lot of people out there giving a lot of bad advice. So, for instance, I'll give one for instance, and out of many. Person who is very senior in their career, late career stage, and someone advised them to have a one-page resume, not a one-page bio or network profile, but a one-page resume. And I asked this person, how does that make you feel? And that person told me, terrible. Doesn't reflect who I am. I don't feel good about it. So whoever gives you advice, me included, follow your heart, right? So I helped this person come up with, actually, I think it was a 3-page resume. I said, well, how does it make you feel? He said, makes me feel great. The standard, of course, is 2 pages. If you're early career, someone coming out of college, I expect a 1-page. Someone mid-career, 2 pages for sure. 3 pages, okay. I think what matters most is, do you have relevant information or do you have fluff in there? If you have relevant information, and there has to be natural breaks, I think, because recruiters do really read it in like 7 seconds. So there should be natural breaks. You should try really hard not to have like an extra bullet point on the 2nd page from the first employer. So I don't really care if it's 2 or 3 pages, as long as it's relevant. And you should never have more than a 3-page, but you should try to get to 2 pages if you can. But I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. So I would say that also on your resume, everybody has the name of the company, right? One trick that you should all have is you should have at least a 1-line description of what that company is and how big that company is. Think about it. You may have a company, you know what it is, but if it's not a named company, they may not know what industry they're in, how many employees they have. So maybe you're a regional marketing manager. Well, I don't know if you're a regional marketing manager for a $100 million company or a $1 billion company. It makes a difference. So you should put company size, revenue size, employees, and industry, you should have a one-line description of the company underneath the title of the company. I don't care how big it is or how small it is, because that gives the person reading the resume scope. Under accomplishments, everybody has accomplishments, right? That's like resume 101. After each accomplishment, bullet point, right? After each bullet point, I want you to ask yourself two questions. One is, so what? And two is, what did my accomplish result in? What were the results of that? So let a program blah, 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 but you don't say what the results were of that. You should have numbers wherever you can, especially in manufacturing. So what did it result in? Dollar savings, efficiencies, cut lead time. Your accomplishments should have numbers to them, and it should have results. What did your actions result in? Try not to make the resume too dense. You don't have to list everything. If you graduated from college, you don't have to list that you graduated from high school. So you don't have to list everything. Too much is not good. And so it tells me something. Your resume is going to tell me, it's going to speak to me. You should have, in addition to the 2-page resume, you should have a 1-page bio with your picture on it. A lot of times when you're doing networking, you send the bio, not the resume. So the bio should be 1 page, and it should be a summary. It's a little different. There's also like a networking profile, which is a little different. I can talk about that. And then we get back to age, and then I want to open it up for conversation. So there's also some bad advice in my view. One is you only go back 10 years, I heard, 10 years. But what if you worked at your last company for 15 years? Well, you put 10 years, and then in the interview, you tell them it's 15 years. Do not ever, ever, ever lie on your resume, because I'll knock you out of the process. And you can't hide if you're 56, like I am. You can't on your resume try to look like you're 36 when you walk into the interview. Be your authentic self is my advice. Be your authentic self. Yes, you don't have to go all the way back, but don't lie. And also, let's go back to some of you that may have been at an organization for a long time. Maybe some of you have been at an organization 20 years. What is important is that you demonstrate progression in those 20 years. So what I mean by that, have you been promoted within those 20 years? Promotion denotes progression. That's a good thing. So list previous titles. You don't have to list accomplishments. You list accomplishments under the most recent job. But you should list your previous titles and the dates, because it shows that you were promoted a couple times. So you worked 20 years. Was it 20 years of progressive experience and expanded responsibility and promotions, or did you have 20 years of 1 year of experience? So it can be a very positive thing to list the promotions over the 20 years. And then one final point, and I'll get to Bob. So ATS version. Yes, so the ATS computers, which is certainly not perfected, but you should have an ugly resume, which is your ATS resume. And we hope to have a specialist on ATS resumes alone upcoming in the next couple of months that'll talk to you about everything around how to beat the ATS system. The one thing I'll say about the ATS system is it's a necessary evil, but don't let that be a distraction for you, or don't let that determine how you're going to approach a job. Many people that I know have gotten rejection, sometimes immediate rejections from the ATS because there's knockout questions. You should know that, right? But many, many people who got rejected from the ATS got hired for that same position at that same company. So it's a necessary evil. Don't let that be a distraction for you. Do what you have to do, but you should have an ugly resume for the ATS, a pretty resume for the interview and the hiring manager, and everything else we talked about. I'll go to Bob for the question.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. 2 points that you brought up that I thought was pretty interesting. One was, did I hear you right? You said really only the bullet point should be under your most recent job, your accomplishments. It's okay not to, because it does make your resume, you know, when I'm 55, so makes your resume a little longer when you do all that, and you get into more pages. So I thought that was interesting. And the second thing is, so same thing. I paid a lot of money to have a resume written. It left off, you know, I owned a company for 14 years that I built from scratch and I was very proud of. But since it was longer than 10 years ago, they left it off my resume. You know, maybe is it okay to put a gap in there, or should you just go ahead and list all of them? Because you know, it would be cleaner without having bullet points and accomplishments under each one. But would it be okay to say, you know, hey, and you know, from 2000 to whatever, I owned a business or whatever, and then go to a more relevant or recent job, or should you chronological?
You should, well, it should be chronological. You should have accomplishments. If I didn't mean to, if I misspoke, I'm sorry. You should have accomplishments for every company you worked for. So that's that. I think that I highly value, you know, if you were a business owner for a period of time, I highly value that, and you should too, right? So the question is, how do you translate that into relevant skills that employers are looking for? That's really the question. And then where you put it on your resume is another matter. But how do you, how do you translate what you're doing to, transferable skills? Because it's always about what can you do for the employer? What can you do to the hiring manager? How can you help? How can you help the company? How can you help the hiring manager who would be your boss?
Right.
And I value that. By the way, I forgot to mention as we're talking about age, I've hired many people in their 60s to work for me directly. I highly value experience, and they make good money. So people are getting hired. I know CHROs that are in their 70s. So don't use age as an excuse, none of you. Because if you do it, it's over.
Yeah.
Comments so far, would take a breath. Share your experience. Anybody, anything about the resume, anything I said, any comments?
May I interject? This is Lynn.
Please, yes.
So I really appreciate all of your comments, Mike. I think they're very well taken, and having the demographics about an individual company is very important, because often I find candidates send me resumes as if I should know XYZ company and assume, because they've been there for a period of time and are very proud of that, that I must know who they are too. But I have absolutely no idea what type of organization they are, how large they are they profit, nonprofit? I just have no data at all. So that's very, very important, because the easier you make it to have someone hire you, the more likely you will be hired. So I think all of your comments are very, very well taken. And with regard to age, I will tell you, I'm over 55, and I was hired over that age. I have hired many people over that age, just have hired someone in the last couple of weeks. So there are opportunities at companies for those of us who are a little bit more senior. And it just it takes maybe a little more rock digging on all of our parts to find those opportunities. And the small to mid-size organizations may be more amenable to individuals who have a little bit more experience. And the final thing I'd like to note, with regard to previous experience, I'm also one of those that has a third page and doesn't want to give up really important experience from years ago when I've had a 9-year tenure at a company, or longer, I think it's valuable to put that information in. I also, I don't think you have to go into great detail, but there's a great importance to where you were before. And gee, you own your own company, you're innovative, you're creative, you've had to wear many hats, you can multitask, you've worked with all levels within organizations, you've worked with banking. That's all really meaningful. And to discount that in the example that was used by the gentleman whose name I can't recall at the moment is very important. And I think, you know, we have, to your point, Mike, we have to be our authentic selves. So that's it for me. And thank you, everybody. I'm trying to connect with you while we're online and happy to do so. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I retweet for jobs, or I'm sorry, I repost jobs. I'm on Twitter too, but I retweet and send jobs on all the time. Please feel free to follow me. And if I can help in any way, let me know.
Awesome.
I appreciate that, Lynn. It means so much. And I agree with you. I mean, from an employer side, tell me who you are. Help me help you, right? And a lot of times people are selling themselves short because I'd say most companies are not have name recognition. They just don't. You know, I worked, my last company was Parados. Anyone heard of Parados? I'm sure not. And they're 2.5 billion euro. So not small, right? Not small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, so that helps. I love that you have a 3-page resume because I had one too. And I have a 2 and a 3 right now. I kind of relented. I have a 2 and a 3. But yeah, if it's relevant and so forth, then I don't mind the 3 pages. Look, I love to read a 3-page resume that's good. And if a 2-page resume isn't good, you know, it's still the content, right? So you can have a 2-page. It's not about the how many pages. But thank you for your comments, Lynn. I appreciate that. And by the way, our next topic's Networking 101. And there's a prime opportunity here for everyone to connect with everyone else on LinkedIn. So anything else on the resume that we didn't cover? I know it's kind of basic, but hopefully it's some useful information and you took something away from that. Any other comments on your resume or anything you want to talk about relative to the comments on the resume?
I just have one question. Pardon
Yeah.
my cat.
Love the cat.
Yeah. I think a number of us here have taken a break either over COVID or for other reasons. What's the best way to account for that in a resume?
Well, there's a couple of ways. Number one is if anyone's going to have a gap year, 2020 is the year to have it. So, you know, employers really, they just want to know, what have you been doing? Right? They want to know, tell me how tell me what you've been doing the last year and a half, 2 years, however long. Let me also tell you this. Don't ever give up. There's colleagues of yours that have given up because they've been at the search for a year or 2 years. I know people that have landed C-suite jobs that have been out of work. Their last full-time job was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, consult, do something in the interim, but the question is when someone inevitably is going to ask you, so what have you been doing? But there is not, while there's a lot of biases out there, trust me, we talked about that. We could talk about that for a week. There's a lot of biases outside of age, but there doesn't seem to be at the top of the list a bias about how long you've been out, especially 2020, 2019 into 2020, 2020 into 2021. The job market just now is starting to rebound, really. People have landed, but most people who have landed during 2020 or 2021, or at least in my world, about 90% of the people that I know that landed during 2020 or 2021 took a step back, either in pay, title, scope, or they took a contract job or a temporary job. So the market wasn't good. The market is a lot better now, and that's a whole nother discussion in terms of the economics of supply and demand, which I'm passionate to talk about, but we won't get sidetracked. So, you know, if you have a gap of a year, fine. You could put a note in there, but maybe not, because I think it's fine, right? Just explain, just have an explanation ready, you know, for what have you been doing?
Thank you.
Mike, specifically, I run into people once in a while and they say, oh, I took off the last 2 years. I was taking care of my elderly parent. Do you think it's okay to put that specific family?
No.
What do you think?
No, I think you just explain it. You know, there's other things you can do in a cover letter, which I still think is relevant. A short cover letter, I still think is relevant. And you can explain some gaps if you feel the need to, if it was for personal reasons. But if your resume is strong enough, otherwise people will call you and then you need to explain, then you explain the gap.
Got it.
As you feel comfortable explaining it.
Super. Yeah. And then I just wanted to address a tiny bit, this ugly resume.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you, the simpler your resume when it's submitted to a company, the better. So no fancy little squiggly lines, or my system does not understand big chunks of like color. Sometimes that confuses it. So make it, you know, ugly. I think my opinion is a little bit super simple. Ugly, super simple. Like, don't put the makeup on that day when you're going out, right? Just put it, just the facts. And that makes it easier for my system, and I'm assuming everybody else's system, to read it. Mine is probably super simple compared to IBM's ATS system, but the basics are keep it simple when you're not handing it directly to a human being, or you're not emailing it directly to Lynn or whomever else is the HR person, right? So that's my 2 cents on that, because I personally experience it.
And don't be discouraged by the ATS or if they reject you. It's irrelevant. Trust me. And
another point on that is, I have people sometimes say, oh, I applied for such and such job. Can I or should I reach out to anybody at that company? I usually say, you have nothing to lose, right? If maybe I should ask Lynn, if somebody's applying for a job at your company and they've gone through the proper steps, would you, and I know you're super nice, would you think overall you and people in your position would welcome someone trying to connect with you on LinkedIn, or would you think that they're being too aggressive?
I always, and thank you for the nice comments. I am always happy to connect with people on LinkedIn, and I think that doing that and following people is very, very helpful. Where I find it difficult primarily are with salespeople on LinkedIn, because now there's a capability on LinkedIn. If I connect with you, it automatically sends me, it spits me out an automatic, you know, sales pitch. And I find that very irritating because I don't have time for sales. I want to talk to real candidates about real opportunities.
Yes.
So I welcome connecting with people on LinkedIn, and I found it to be very valuable. And I also you might be familiar with an organization called Wine and Dine. I think that might be where I met Joan many years ago. Yeah. And I was a networking leader for Wine and Dine, and networking is, 80% of all roles are filled through networking. So even if you can get through an ATS, boy, if you have an inside opportunity to connect with someone who knows someone, or you know someone directly at a company, that's really the way to go. So I will always invite connecting with people. What I find challenging are the sales pitches over and over. I don't have time for that, and a lot of them I just discount because it's just it becomes too bothersome. There's too much there. The other thing that I wanted to say, just to tag on to some of the things that Mike said earlier, that's so important. When I look at a resume, first 7 seconds is absolutely accurate. So all of that narrative is not helpful. You want to cut to the chase. And for me, for instance, I have two opportunities that are very unique. And if the individuals don't have these exact skills, I cannot hire them. So I need someone with an electrical engineering degree. I have to know that right away, that they're a double E. They have to be a project manager, but they can't be a project manager absent being a double E. And the third part is they have to have worked with software organizations, vendors to work with us to develop software, kind of offshoring. All three of those components are mutually exclusive jobs. They're all in one. And if a project manager just sends me a resume, I'm not going to hire that person because they also don't have the double E. So it's really important if you have skills like sometimes a company has some must-haves like an electrical engineering degree, and having those things right up front where they're easily visible. Electrical engineering, project management experience, fluent in Mandarin. I need one of those two. I needed an embedded electrical engineer who speaks Mandarin. So if anyone knows anyone, please pass them on to me. Having concise information about your technical skills is really critical. And so that's my takeaway on that.
The one thing I'll say too is, this is just something that's on my mind, is because I hear a lot of times, well, I didn't hear back, and when's the appropriate follow-up, time interval when you've sent the resume in, or you've had an interview. And we know ghosting has happened, which is ridiculous. It's just the most unprofessional thing in the world, ghosting after an interview or ghosting after multiple interviews. But the one thing I will say is time works differently when you're in seat versus when you're out of work. So, a week to us out of work could be like an hour or a day to someone that's in seat. I mean, people are extremely busy. Companies have cut back everywhere. People are doing the jobs of 3, 4, 5, 6 people that, used to take that many people to do the jobs. They're busy. So sometimes it's about, getting approval for things. Sometimes as you're recruiting and as you're hiring, companies behind the scenes are still fighting over what the salary should be or the level of the position, or they may like you at a higher level. A lot of things happening. There's travel involved. So, just be aware that time is different from the employer side to the applicant side. Things are just different. Now, I will say, networking 101, talk about LinkedIn, right? Everybody's on LinkedIn. And, look, LinkedIn 101 is, to me, you go to invite someone to make a connection request, you should make it personal. I have about 1,000 invites in my inbox that I'm just not accepting because they didn't put a note to it. Why should I accept you? Why? No. And it's important for me, by the way, to know my contacts. So I make a point to have a conversation with all my contacts. You can reach out to someone, you can have a conversation, and then you could decide whether to accept that invitation after the conversation. But you should make it personal in some way. Hey, Mike, I was part of the ManufacturNET on such and such a date, enjoyed it, would love to connect, and blah, blah, blah. Perfect, then I'll accept that. So make it personal. Most people will accept if you make it personal. Most people want to help. There should be no shortage of opportunities to network and grow your network. The other LinkedIn 101 is you should have over 500 connections at least. That's one of the algorithms. So you've noticed that when you look at people's connections, it says 500 plus, whether you have 501 or you have 15,000. By the way, I think the max is 30,000 connections before they cut you off. So you got a long way to go before they cut you off. Although I challenge anyone with that many connections if you actually know all of them. So to me, it's about quality, not quantity, but if you're looking for more of a senior role, I will tell you that it's about perception, right? If I look at someone LinkedIn's profile and I see like 78 connections or really anything under 500, I say, well, they're not very connected. they're not very networked, and you want people that are networked and connected. So it's a perception, it's an algorithm. You should at least have over 500. And it's easy to grow. It's easy to grow. The one thing also, when you have networking calls, is you want to ask for advice on your search. People are humbled by that. They would love to give advice. If you ask them, anyone that you can recommend that you talk to, and then you always at the end, anything I can do for you. And even if you think there's nothing in the world you could do for that person, ask anyway. You never know. The other thing is, I want to make sure all of you have mastered in 30 seconds or less your exit narrative and your elevator pitch. It should be 30 seconds or less. So what happened at XYZ company? Right? Standard question. But you ought to be prepared without having to do any more preparation than all of you are on this call right now. And give some context. I got laid off. Well, okay, were you the only one? Was it a mass layoff? Was the company in financial difficulty? So you guys should have a mastery of that at a drop of a dime, as well as your elevator pitch. You run into someone, you run into someone at the elevator, and you need to tell them who you are and what you're looking for in 30 seconds or less. So does anyone brave out there that wants to try their elevator pitch on the group? 30 seconds or less. You guys gave an introduction, but okay, but I want to hear an elevator pitch that may be a little different. Anybody want to share their elevator pitch or their exit narrative? Come on.
All right, I'm always one to speak up.
All right, and then we'll get to you, Andy. Thank you.
Oh, wait, no, Kevin volunteered. That's it. I'm out.
No, you're next.
I kind of gave my elevator pitch up front, so I'll give you my exit statement. So I worked for Terex Corporation, which is a multi-billion-dollar global manufacturer. In 2019, we went through a major restructuring of the company, sold off one of the three main divisions, which was our crane business. So company reduced from about 5 billion in sales down to 3.5. And with that, there was a major reorganization of the corporate center, and several functions were eliminated from headquarters, unfortunately, including the corporate marketing function that I was responsible for. So my team, along with several others, were eliminated. And obviously, I wasn't happy with that outcome, but from a business point of view, completely understand why the company needed to take that action.
Very good. What does everybody think? It's good, right?
Well done. Well done.
And brief.
Yep. And keep in mind I think your introductions, of speaking generally, your introductions and your elevator pitch, a little different, just a tweak, right? Because I heard some of your, I'm not going to call anyone out, I heard some of your intros and it sounded like a commercial, like an infomercial. Be your authentic self. Tell me who you are, right? So Andy, would you like to practice on us?
I would like to try the exit narrative as well.
Yes.
And as a framework, being a small business owner the last 7 years, owning 2 different businesses, sometimes I can sense I'm getting head scratching when I'm explaining, my transition away from owning business, being a business owner into, more of an employee role. So last 7 years, I've owned 2 different businesses. I had that as a career checklist to be an entrepreneur and own a business, which I fulfilled. And my last business, I recently divested my shares of that business back to my partner. And really I'll say the entrepreneurial spirit hasn't quite left me yet, but being an owner has, and that's why I'm looking towards moving back into a larger organization, with more of a team environment versus the single proprietorship.
I think that was pretty good. What do you guys think?
Thank you for that, because it doesn't sound, in my mind, I'm like, I got to work on it.
No, I mean, any comments? We're in a friendly environment. Any comments to that?
Please.
It sounds great. I find if you do it over and over, it will simply become rote. So if you practice it, it will come out much, very naturally and probably feel more comfortable to you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Anyone
also
else?
think it's great. I struggle with this also, of giving your exit pitch without a sense of sorrow or shame. I don't know if anyone else feels that.
Personally, look, it's important that you, if you're angry about what happened, let it go. Because it'll show, right? Just don't be, it happens. It's hard to find someone today that hasn't been laid off in their career. Virtually impossible to find someone that hasn't been, laid off in their career. So if you're angry about it, let it go, because it'll show. And you don't have to talk about it. It is what it is. It's, you don't have to talk about the emotional part of it, because it's somewhat irrelevant.
What I was coached to do is to frame it as a business decision and to just say that you understand the business decision and you're moving on. And, I think that that's a good approach from somebody listening and a healthy approach for your own mindset.
So sometimes in the interview, people, I could tell if they still harbor feelings, because they'll make a side comment, through a nervous laugh or something. Stop it. You're right. It's I want to know who you are. I want to know if you're over the event that occurred. Sorry. Right. And so it is what it is. And chances are your hiring manager was also laid off at some time in their career. Any other comments to this? I want to talk about how you structure your day and your week. You've heard maybe of the term time blocking. I think it's important to have blocks of time throughout the day and the week that you're focused on the task at hand. Whether it's, on Mondays, I'm going to go through Indeed and LinkedIn. On Tuesdays, I'll reach out to executive search. On Wednesdays, I'll do the networking calls. Things like that. So many people, I don't know if you find yourself, I don't know if you all are happy with, you look back on, on the week and say, what did I accomplish? And I think people can get awfully distracted by emails, texts, social media, right? You're trying to update your resume. You're trying to write a letter to someone. You're trying to apply for a job, and the darn phone chimes and it's a text. Do you look at it? Or do you continue the task at hand? Or do you turn your phone off? Because I can tell you there's a lot of time wasters throughout the week. So I want you to just be cognizant of how you structure your day. It should be a structured day, a structured week. I think that would help if you just be cognizant of these things that can distract you from the task at hand. Multitasking is not a good thing when it comes to job search. The other thing is, you should all be connected to executive search people. There are literally, I think it was, someone told me there was over 2 million recruiters on LinkedIn. I could tell you there's thousands. I don't know how many, but so, you should have a search strategy. People should know who you are. It's easy to research who the executive search folks are, either regionally or in your industry. And you should have a system where, you're pinging them every so often so they don't forget you. I'll stop there. Any questions or comments to that? Cynthia, hi.
Yes, on the topic of executive recruiters or search firms, are
Yeah.
there specific firms or recruiters that you know of that work in manufacturing area?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's ones that, there's ones that they're specialized. I mean, they're like, you have recruiters that do just financial, they place CFOs in small companies, 250 million to 250 million. Then there's other ones that, so that's something we could talk about offline. I'd have to go to my list. I have a pretty vast list of search firms. But yeah, there are ones that focus on manufacturing. Jane focuses on manufacturing. So that's one right off the bat. But yeah, there are others.
And Cynthia, you want to, you know this, you want to focus on, like my main focus is engineers. So that's more of what I have, but I do have more, but I'm a smaller firm, so I don't have a lot of jobs. So you'll want to find, there might be like the Aerotechs of the world or whoever's big in manufacturing within your specific field of expertise. There are recruiters. There's a trainer who's from Wisconsin and he only places people in the cheese industry. They get that into the minutia.
Yeah, it's so specialized. I mean, there's just, like I said, thousands. I want to leave it open. The hour went by fast. If time permitting, I was going to talk about interview prep. Future topics, we're going to have Janet Forte come on, talk about toxic work environment that she has done to other networking groups. We think that'll be good. We want to do ATS. If there's interest in me talking about global outsourcing and how it affects manufacturing, please let us know. And also let us know what topics you guys want us to present. We could bring in guest speakers, and we could talk about any topic you want. Reach out to me. Are there any questions that we have? Andy?
Thank you. And I know we're at the end of time and I don't expect any comments on this, but if anybody has any experience with the top grading interview process, I have one coming up, I think, later this week or the beginning of next week. Done some Googling, and so I understand it, but I just wanted to see if anybody had any firsthand experience with that type of process.
Well, what is top grading interviewing?
It's from what I can understand, it's a way to grade candidates to focus on high performance candidates. So the A players. It had its foundation in the Jack Welch GE world. I found some articles saying that it's, and I will probably kick myself for doing this, but air quotes, scientific method to really, perform a deep dive into the candidate's background and profile, focusing on each action and result on your resume, and also sprinkling in some personality trait type, interview caveats to make sure that you fit the definition of an A player, because that's the way to fill your organization with A players, and then your organization organically becomes, a more powerful organization.
I've not heard of it either, Mike.
Yeah, what?
First I heard of it was Monday.
Listen, we create new names for the same old thing, right? When did sales become business development? I mean, we create names for things, but it's the same old thing. Now, I will tell you that particularly when there's multiple interviewers, which is very common today, you typically, it's typical for a company to have a scorecard among measurable factors, right? And everybody will give their score and talk about it. That's very common. It sounds similar to what you're talking about, but I want to get to it sounds like a fancy term for things that have been going on for
yeah.
forever.
If anybody does have experience, just email me or message me through LinkedIn, just so I can get your perspective on that. So this basically what it sounds like, Mike, is just a different name for something that's kind of been going on, at that level.
That's right. Yeah, and sometimes companies outsmart themselves.
Hmm.
They overthink it. Steve, welcome.
Hey, welcome. How you doing? Just wanted
Good.
just wanted to pipe in a little bit here. We've used predictive index quite a bit, in trying to position candidates for to ensure that they're going to be compatible with with our current our current staffs. So that might be part of what you're talking about. Is trying to get those check boxes filled to make sure that you're going to be the right candidate. So that's all.
I appreciate that. Yeah, psychometric testing,
Right.
which really shouldn't be a decision maker in the interview process and things like that. So thank you. I'll turn it over to Jane to close, but appreciate your time, everybody.
Bob, did you have a question?
No, I was just going to make a comment. I actually did a course on LinkedIn with managing high performers, which was kind of interesting. And after going through that, I realized, I think that's what I've been doing most of my career. I spent some time coaching at the collegiate level and coached some guys that are now in the NFL or were in the NFL. High performers are very hard to pinpoint a specific characteristic that they have in common because they're all different. But the one thing I did find that was useful is, they all have that extraordinary drive that is hard to find unless you have a conversation with them. So I guess I'm not that big of a fan of the pigeonholing, with a lot of these psychological tests and that stuff. But I do think there is some value to having a conversation with somebody to determine whether they're a high performer or not. That's just my opinion.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And again, next time we are, Janet will be with us talking about toxic workplace, which is a very important topic. If you've ever been in a toxic workplace, good to know how to spot and how to run quickly away. And how to deal with it if you're in it too. So if you have any interest in further conversations with us, please reach out, and please reach out to each other. And we thank you so very much for your time. And we're especially thrilled that, we have other people like Lynn who can help us with really, firsthand information on how we can support each other in this job search and real life information. And of course, as always, thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, everybody. Have
Such
a good
great
week.
information. Thanks, everyone. Be well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a
Okay,
great
bye.
week. Bye.